Hello there and welcome to the second episode of the Long Live Rock and Roll podcast. My name is Laz Michaelides and to my right is Felipe Amarim, my esteemed co-host. How's it going, Felipe?
All good, man, and you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Let's get the episode officially started. Please do the honours.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, that's it. We'll put that. We'll use that as the soundbite every time.
Yeah.
We just record the bit.
Yeah, we don't have the budget for sound effects, so that's what we do.
We create our own. Oh god.
By the way, I want to mention I'm drinking a San Miguel special, whatever that is. I'm not sponsored, so if someone wants to sponsor me, just send me your beers.
This guy loves beer,
Yeah.
so if there is any sponsorships out there wanting a rock and roller of his stature
And if
drinking their products, but you have loads of beer, don't you?
I love beer in general and food. And I'm not really specific about it. People think, oh yeah, you like eating stuff. Yeah, I do. I love food. I love like having a good dinner and etc.
Yeah.
And drinking beer, but I'm not specific about stuff. Any beer, any food.
Anything, Is there any food you don't eat? Butter.
Butter.
Yeah, I know that.
Oh, I hate butter.
I made a sandwich for him with butter in it.
So
He was
no,
like, Laz, is there
don't
butter
spread
in
butter
this?
on my sandwich. No, that's the only thing on earth I can't eat. Believe me. Yeah, and beer is the same. Any beer, whiskey, vodka. I love it all. I love life.
Excellent.
All right.
Anyway, well, so yeah, as I said, welcome back. We really hope you enjoyed the first episode. And we got lots of great feedback about it. So thank you very much for everyone who got in touch. Please follow us on our socials. The podcast, we are at Long Live RNR Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and we have a Facebook page and YouTube channel if you type in Long Live Rock and Roll Podcast. I'm at Laz Unleashed on Instagram. He's at feed_the drummer. So please get in touch. We'd love to hear from you and get some feedback about our shows.
And give us the thumbs up if you're watching this on YouTube. Before you finish, if you just do it now.
Anyway, so as we mentioned, last week we were introducing ourselves to you and telling you what this podcast is going to be about. And we've got some albums. We've got an album planned that we're going to do for the next week episode. But this episode is going to be a band discussion, and we are going to discuss one of my favourite bands, a band called Queen, who I'm sure most people are aware of.
Definitely one of my favourite bands as well. Although
Really?
I have to say I don't know that much about Queen if comparing to what you know for sure. I mean, I've listened to them a lot, but I never. That's when I'm going to learn from you here, Laz, because I never got into them in terms of following, the story. Like bands like the Beatles and Zeppelin and Dire Straits and Yes, I would listen to the discography and following the chronological order. So, this is the first album, really good. Queen, I know the songs, and I can't tell you which albums they are from. So,
well, they're famous for that Greatest Hits 1 album, aren't they?
But
everyone knows all of the songs on those.
Yeah, but I think, you know what? I used to watch loads of their live performance. I had a VHS. Oh, I'm old. You probably don't have that because Laz is 19. How old are you? No.
I'm 26.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, 1,000 years younger than me. And I used to watch VHS tapes. I had I had a live one from the 70s. I don't know which year, but they play Will Rocco with a full band. Really cool stuff. And I had the live at Wembley 1986. Which I've probably watched over 100 times. I'm not lying.
Awesome.
So
really?
Those songs, that's like a greatest hits set list, isn't it? They do play all the hits are there. So I know the songs from their live performances. I know from the radio, of course, and from compilations. But I'm not that familiar with Queen's discography. So you can teach me.
Yeah, excellent. Well, okay, let's start with Queen then. I mean, Queen was four guys who all met in London. The band formed in 1971. They were Brian May, Roger Taylor, John Deacon, who joined a little bit after the other guys, and Freddie Mercury. Do you know Freddie Mercury's real name?
No.
You don't?
No, it's not an English name.
It's not, no, he was born in Zanzibar.
Oh, wow.
And his name is Farrokh Bulsara.
It's a bit harder to memorize than Freddie
it's not
Mercury.
as
It's harder.
He did something like he combined, but he called himself either Farrokh Mercury or Freddie Bulsara. He stuck with it for a bit. I have a feeling it was Freddie Bulsara because Freddie was easier than Farrokh. Potentially.
And then eventually he changed to Mercury just because it's just artistic.
I don't think legally I don't think his official name was Freddie Mercury. I think it's his stage name.
Yeah.
That
So I'm
everyone knew
saying
him
that
by,
at some point he realised that Mercury is a good stage
yeah,
name.
it is a good stage name. So interestingly, all the Queen members, they met each other. They were all doing degrees in really different subjects. So Freddie Mercury was studying fashion and design, and he went on to do some graphic art and design as well at degree level.
Nice.
Roger Taylor was studying dentistry because I believe his dad was a dentist.
And he had a band. They had a band called Smiles, and it's
Yes,
pretty much
yeah.
that was actually the early version of Queen, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
It's in the movie and everything, but I read about that, and it's
And
it's called Smile because he was a dentist.
exactly,
so studying
So
to be a
Roger
dentist.
Taylor was doing dentistry. John Deacon was doing electronics at the what's now King's College in London. And Brian May, do you know what he was studying?
Astrophysics.
Yeah,
Yeah,
astronomy and physics.
He actually finished his PhD recently.
He's done a few masters and other things, but what a clever bunch of guys. I mean, I know that no slight on fashion, people who do fashion, but I know fashion isn't as, what do you want to say?
You would say
tasking as-
technical or whatever,
Yeah.
but in fact, it might be as complex as like arts in general, as painting and stuff like that,
I
because
can't comment.
it involves a lot. There's a lot of drawings. There's a lot of planning and that kind of stuff. And so I think the most relevant thing about that is they are all from different areas, isn't it? What does fashion has to do with dentistry or astrophysics? Do you think that makes a difference in terms of how you write a song or...
I do, because music was, it must have been like a hobby / passion for them. I don't think it was something they went into with professional aspirations. As in, I don't think they went in there saying, right, we're going to be musicians and we're going to change our career. Because they were studying whilst they formed this band.
Yeah.
Or they just finished their thing. So they had aspirations to go on and do things in their field. But, I mean...
Doesn't that mean that they had the freedom to play in any way they wanted? Because there's no pressure, no responsibility.
We'll get on to that later. Because their music is so varied and so different because they just did what they wanted. So you're right there. What did we say in episode 1? Rock and roll is musical freedom.
Musical freedom.
There you go.
Exactly.
We're 5 minutes in and we've proven that Queen are rock and roll.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's funny talking about their backgrounds and what they did and what they're studying, because there's several times where it came in handy to have these educational interests, because studying electronics, John Deacon built a guitar amp for Brian May that he called the Deaky amp. And Brian May used it in loads of Queen albums to do his special layered guitars where he'd play loads of harmonies and do loads of different kind of lines overplaying each other, and it was really interesting. So there's a benefit to John's electronics. Freddie Mercury in his fashion, I mean, he looked great, didn't he? He looked quite... and what is it, Brian May, who has the sleeves... Is that it? Where he's got the material that goes from his wrist to his hips, and it looks... Is it not that?
I don't know.
Oh, well, anyway, Freddie looked really good anday with his...
Well,
he always wear the leotards.
You can clearly see the influence of fashion in that sense, because Freddie was really into how the band should look, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think even if you look at him, from the start to the end, his fashion and appearance changed so many times. I remember...
The moustache, the famous moustache.
That's it.
You can recognize Freddie from any picture. Like, oh, that's him. The moustache, the short hair, which for rock and roll is not
exactly.
Obviously, he had long hair and no moustache at the beginning.
Yeah.
So then change it completely, and it changed it to a more remarkable look.
Yeah,
it's fun, isn't it? Because he kind of looks like a regular guy. It looks like someone you find,
so.
in a pub. In a pub. I know.
Well, I mean, from a personal perspective, Queen, I've got a weird thing with bands. I do have a list of who are my favourite top 15 and 20 bands, but I judge it based on how much I love the songs. So, for example, there's a lot of Queen, and I'll openly admit this now, there's a lot of Queen I don't like, and there's a lot of Queen that I don't think is very good. But for me, the songs that they are famous for, and what I don't mean 5 or 6 songs, I mean there is a good 20 to 30 songs that everyone knows Queen did, and that I love those songs.
How many bands can play a whole set
of hits.
Of hits.
Yeah.
Like you
There's
play
not
a
many.
2 hour gig, 2 hour and a half, and everyone in the audience is going to know every single line.
Yeah.
So people know the lyrics. That's the thing. I mean, just you have to consider, for instance, for us, you grew up here in London, right?
Yeah.
And I grew up in Brazil. We're both familiar with all their hits. So they are massive in South America. They are like massive anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
It's one of those bands. They're just like the Beatles in that sense. Everyone knows their hits. Everyone is familiar with the choruses and stuff. Maybe there's something about it. Just realize now, they are not as heavy as Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, but they are not as I don't know, light. Let's put it like that. Or pop as the Beatles. You know, they are clearly a rock band. There is that element of distorted guitars and loudness, but they're very
That's
commercial, you know?
Yeah, well, the thing is for their early 70s stuff, so as we said, they formed in 71. They actually played their first gig on the 2nd of July, 1971, so it's really...
You know your Queen.
I love Queen, yeah.
Yeah.
The early 70s music incorporated a lot of stuff that we've spoken about before as being pivotal to where rock and roll and rock music went. So they drew comparisons to Led Zeppelin quite a lot because of the heavy guitar usage, the fast-paced music. Early on, you could easily call Queen a heavy metal band, a hard rock band, a prog band, a psychedelic band. They had everything. They really were pushing the boundary of what it meant to be rock in those days.
As you know them better, I'm going to ask you this: do you find all those elements in a single album, or they actually, change it throughout the career?
Well, certainly in the first few albums, it's a very consistent sound. I think if you listen
But
to...
all those elements are there, the psychedelic, they were more...
Song to song, there'll be different songs, but yes, I mean, Queen 1, Queen 2, the next 2 or 3 albums after that as well, it's a very consistent thing. I do think that, again, song to song, it's different. You will have a rock song, you will then have a ballad that he plays on the piano, and then you could get a really psychedelic song. I don't mean psychedelic with all these crazy sounds and this and that, but like we were talking about, innovative, pushing the boundaries stuff of how they were using their instruments, how they were producing, how they were mixing stuff.
Which relates to what we said. They didn't necessarily had to make a living out of that, as they had other careers like lined up. They could be doing something else. So if you play music for fun, let's put it like that. In a good way, like I'm playing this because I like doing this and I want to do it in my own way, and they didn't have to fit in a specific label and a specific style, but they were kind of you can see that from all their performances how comfortable they are on stage. Again, just comparing with Robert Plant, wasn't comfortable on stage for the first few years because it was like, am I going to make it? There was that element of this: is this going to be my career? Is this going to happen? Whilst Freddie and everyone in the band, they were just like, yeah, we're cool, you're on stage, and there's one thing about them, apart from John Deacon being really quiet on stage and a quiet personality, let's put it like that, they were somehow, all of them were frontmen. Somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, Freddie stands out compared to any frontman in the world, but that's another topic. But if you see, like, when Roger Taylor's singing I'm in Love with My Car, he's a frontman in that song. Not only the lead singer, he's the frontman. What do you think?
I think in more ways than one. I think, a lot of that time, I don't want to say that, bands didn't write songs together, because that's obviously not true, but we were talking about Jimmy Page, who was the primary songwriter for Zeppelin. A lot of bands...
Lennon McCartney with the Beatles, Mark Knopfler with Dire Straits.
These guys all wrote songs. Queen, every member of Queen wrote a song. And as you'll have seen from one of our Instagram posts leading up to this, I did a introducing John Deacon to you all, because he is the lesser one known of Queen to most people. John Deacon wrote many of their hits. He wrote "You're My Best Friend." He wrote "Another One Bites the Dust."
No, he
One
wrote
Vision.
No, One Vision and I Want to Break Free. That's it.
And Friends
John
Will Be
Deacon.
Friends. Four of those could be considered Queen's biggest songs.
Yeah, John Deacon himself wrote like almost a whole set list worth of hits.
Easily, yeah.
Like, wow.
And I think when you factor into that Brian May wrote so many great songs. Freddie Mercury and May together did loads of great ones, and Roger Taylor as well. You know, I'm in love with my car. Is there a more rock and roll tune in 70s rock? Like he's in love.
It's silly, you know, but it's intentional.
I love the lyric where he goes, "Tell my girl I have to forget her. I've got to buy me a new carburettor." he loves it. He doesn't give a shit. He just wants to. Like, he's in love with his car.
And then he's playing that like heavy groove. Grabbing cymbals, it was really good at that.
Yeah.
And also singing those high pitched notes.
Falsetto, he was.
What a singer he was.
Yeah.
He is. Still sings really well. How old is he now? 70 something. He still sings really well and plays drums like to an amazing level. That's the thing. I mean, those guys, they all had the vocal skills. I mean, I don't know. I think John Deacon didn't sing live, but I think he recorded some of the BVs as well. But
John Deacon was very quiet. That's part of the reason they invited him into the band, because they were all such personalities that they were like, we need a quiet bassist.
Well, typical bassist.
Yes, yeah, exactly. He was invited into his band for his quiet demeanour. He was very. I'm not sure he'd necessarily agree with whoever was being.
Would you
loudest.
put that on your CV? I'm quiet.
I have a quiet demeanour. Yeah. But yeah, so early in the 70s, their breakthrough came, if you want to call it a breakthrough, with the second album, so Queen 2, which got to number 5 in the UK charts. So that was their first entry and success into the UK market. They played on Top of the Pops just after that album was released, and they played The Seven Seas of Rye, which is one of my favourite songs.
Wow.
And that got a really...
On Top of the Pops?
On Top of the Pops. There was another... It wasn't just that song. They did Seven Seas of Rye and something else. But that was the one that the audiences reacted to and loved, really.
On Top of the Pops was like... I mean, for those who are not familiar with Top of the Pops, that show, it's like... If you had a song in that show, that's it. You have a career. You have,
Well, it was the UK's version. Well, it was the UK's version of getting the music out there, showing what's in the charts, what's in the hits.
And bands wouldn't perform live. They would be playing to a backing track, but the singer had to sing live. So lots of pressure on the singer. I think there was something about the musicians union or whatever. It was illegal somehow to not perform live or entirely live vocals. I think I might be wrong about this, but I'm quite sure it's the singer had to perform live. I know that was the case. So so you would have Freddie singing live, even the backing vocals, everything would be live, but the rest of it is just like playback. But in any case, being featured at that show,
big deal.
Yeah,
big deal.
Big deal.
After that, they got a bit of notice because they went and supported Mott the Hoople on tour.
Oh, nice.
Straight after. Yeah, it's a good gig, isn't it?
Then there was still that was first album. We're still talking about
No, second album. Queen 2, 1974. Hold on, I've got it here.
Oh,
1974.
Notes.
He's
organised.
I'm right about most. I remember most things, but every now and then I need a reminder of when an album came out. But yeah, that was 1974.
Not a problem. You can even pretend you don't have the notes. So we just have to angle the camera in a way that.
Yeah, I look at the table for my thoughts.
Everything we do here is for real. So if we're reading notes, we're gonna let you know. But yeah.
So after that, I mean, that's when their fame kind of skyrocketed, if you like. They were selling out shows. They were going on tours on their own after Mott the Hoople.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just they were leeching off of other people's success. Then they did 2 cracking albums called A Night at the Opera and A Day at the Races. A Night at the Opera is one of my favourite albums of all time. This one here. I'd go as far as saying it is definitely in the top 3. I don't want to commit to saying it's my favourite because I got to think about that, but definitely in my top 3 favourite albums of all time. Stunning album, and it really just showed. This is the important part, is that whilst Queen 1 and Queen 2 and Sheer Heart Attack showed that kind of rock, psychedelic, heavy metal side of Queen, A Night at the Opera had just so many different songs. If we take it and have a look at it, I hope the songs are on the back, yeah. Death on Two Legs is a hard rock heavy metal song. Lazing on a Sunday Afternoon is Freddie Mercury sitting at his piano, acting, I don't know what you call it, it's almost like show music. He puts on an accent, he goes, I go off to work on Monday morning. And it's like it's a show tune, and he's at a piano in a bar, I'm in love with my car, pure driving rock.
Yeah.
You're my best friend, that's pop.
Yeah.
It's a pop tune.
It is, yeah.
39 is Brian May's tune of, it's an acoustic ballad of him telling a story of what happened in 1939. It's gorgeous. Couple more rock tunes. Seaside Rendezvous, same thing. Freddie Mercury at a piano talking about the beach, you know. And you've got a bunch of other great rock tunes here. Love of My Life, which was just a ballad by Freddie on the piano.
I'll tell you that is a beautiful song, and it's a sing-along song, isn't it?
Yeah.
They used to do it live, and most of the song would be sung by the audience instead of the band. I mean, how many bands can actually do that? So you just hold the microphone and wait for people to sing along. So
that album was so important, and I'm telling you, we will do an album episode on that one, because there's just so much to discuss. It's so pivotal, because it showed that you can be a rock band and write other stuff as well.
Yeah.
You know, but so much different stuff. I'm a rock band, but we'll do a psychedelic rock song, or we're a rock band and we'll do a pop tune. Like I said, show tunes.
Yeah.
Doing that Seaside Rendezvous and the Lazy on a Sunday Afternoon. How many other bands are going to have...
Like theatre music, isn't it?
Yeah, but then I think so much of that is down to Freddie Mercury. Because he was extravagant enough to say, let's do something different.
Right. Here's the thing. I do have... I think it's a question. Let me think if I can organise this as a question. How important was the fact that they... Well, until a certain point... I'm not going to talk about the recent incarnations of Queen with guest singers, because I consider every other guy who sang with them live as a guest musician. None of them stayed in the band for too long. So it's like, so you can actually consider that the band they never had a lineup change, which is rare, you know. So how important was for Queen to be that 4-piece band always, you know, the same guys, and how important it was for Freddie Mercury to have those 3 guys backing him instead of being, because he was such a great singer, and in my opinion he is the best frontman ever. I'm not saying the best singer, because that's a matter of taste. Some people are going to like someone's voice better. But I think no one in the history of music, okay, all that stuff, I'm going to say that. In the history of music, no one had so much control over the band and the audience as Freddie did.
Yeah.
And I think he's the best frontman, the best frontman ever. So how important it was, that band, that specific lineup, for Freddie to express himself as an artist, because his solo career is good, but it's not half as good as Queen, isn't it?
Well, to answer your question, I think what the best example of it is, and I will use this as evidence, is the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, because although there are some timeline discrepancies in there, there are things they got wrong. They said that this song was
intentionally
written
wrong, isn't it?
Well, a little bit, but they said that this song was written in this year just so that it would make the flow of the movie go better. But what it really showed, and just to add, Brian May and Roger Taylor oversaw the production of the movie Bohemian Rhapsody to make sure that the facts were facts and that things were being portrayed right. But what you can see in that movie is the relationship that these guys had. And I mentioned that John Deacon was quiet. Well, that fitted in perfectly.
Yeah.
If you had 4 huge personalities, that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
Because there would have been too many clashes. But then you have the part in the... I'm not sure if it's in the movie, but where they're trying to write another hit, and Freddie, Brian and Roger are trying to talk about which kind of song should we write, what do we do this, and then in the corner John Deacon's playing Another One Bites the Dust. So because no one gives a shit about his opinion, and because he wouldn't make his opinion so heard, he would just sit there and jam on his bass and write a hit.
But even it's fun, isn't it? But even without having a voice in that sense in the band, without being someone who wanted to be in the spotlight, he came up with some of the most iconic bass lines ever.
That is
Under Pressure.
So Another One
Bites the Dust. I mean, all those bass lines, like, you can listen to the bass by itself and you know which song that is. And that's apart from
part
lyrics
in rock
and stuff.
history. You know, he's made bass lines that not that I'd like to say 9 out of 10, but that's too little. I'm going to say 999 out of 1,000 bass players can play Another One Bites the Dust.
Yeah.
Without. I got to a point where actually my wife said to me, "Teach me the bass of some. Just teach me anything." And the first thing I go to, Another One Bites the Dust. Just so easy.
And you could go for Under Pressure if you wanted to.
Rhythm's a little harder on that one, but for beginners, Another One Bites the Dust is just so easy.
There you go.
So easy. But that's the simplicity of it, is that the notes are in the right order, the rhythms are simple, but it works with Roger Taylor's drum beat.
Again, if your whole life is not music, maybe like in his case, if you have other interests, other stuff, there's no ego when you're writing a song, isn't it? It's like, well, I just want to do this because I want to do this.
Exactly.
And so it's definitely all about the music. And I think you can hear their personalities in terms of the way they play. You can't imagine Bohemian Rhapsody without Roger Taylor's high-pitched notes.
Yeah.
So in that sense, if I could answer my own question, I think you couldn't have Freddie Mercury as that big star without the bass lines written by John Deacon, without that guitar tone by Brian May, and without the groove and the backing vocals by Roger Taylor. He wouldn't be as good without them, I guess, and he wasn't as good without them.
Well, the thing is in that mid-70s time, they started to find their own sound. Yeah. That's when Queen became Queen. Like I said, you had the quirky songs that they did, but that was still Queen. Yeah. Regardless of the fact it wasn't a hard rock tune. The 3 albums, A Night of the Opera, Day at the Races, and News of the World, they all went into the top 10 immediately of the album charts, because that's how Queen kind of elevated themselves in the mid-70s to become that big band. Everyone knew who they were at that stage because they had those hits, and it worked so well for them. The thing, during the mid-70s, what they also did that was very innovative and important is their use of mixing and production and recording techniques. Now, there's a song called Brighton Rock, which is on an early Queen album, where Brian May, there's a guitar solo, but I'm hesitant to call it a guitar solo because it's not on the high end of the bass going, the guitar going. He's playing heavy riffs that go back and forth. It goes, to the right and the left of your ear. It goes.
Change from one side to the other.
And it goes, and he's just playing with these rhythms, and it's just fantastic. That's a song called Brighton Rock. Again, we'll put it in the playlist for this episode. It's so innovative and so different, and you have to wonder that is it John Deacon's love of electronics that made him think, let's experiment with these signals and send signals to the left and right, pan it to each side of the speaker.
How about the fact that Brian May built his own guitar? It's like that doesn't that make a huge difference in terms of sound? Because in rock music, guitars, they define the sound of the band, the loudness and the style and everything. So a drummer would play louder if there's more distortion or if the guitar is louder, whatever. And the tone of the guitar and the overall sound of guitar will definitely define how the whole band sounds. And you can't find any other guitar in the world that sounds even close to that one, because
he made it with his dad.
I know some people who don't like that tone, but the point is, it's unique.
Yeah.
He built it himself with his dad, isn't it? His dad.
In 1963, I think, and that's what he started his love.
It's the Red Special, isn't it? The name?
Is that what he called it?
I think it's called the Red Special.
Well, it is.
And he only has one of it, and that's it.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Lars is famous for his love for wearing shorts.
Yeah, we do love wearing shorts.
He's all about feeling comfortable, and if it's just slightly hotter than usual, he's going to go for shorts.
That's not true. I'll wear shorts when it's cold as well.
When it's cold as well. Anyway, so that has been a controversial moment on tour because we demand that people wear trousers in the band because shorts are not rock and roll. But you can argue with that. But anyway,
we're going to do an episode on whether shorts are rock and roll.
Yeah, we can do a whole episode about shorts. But now we have a segment called Lazarus Shorts, where Lazarus is going to say some short things. Really, the shortest phrases he
Yeah,
could
and we're not
ever
even
come
going
up
to
with.
discuss it afterwards because this is purely opinion.
That's short. So, ladies and gentlemen, Lazarus Short.
Queen is not Queen without Freddie Mercury or John Deacon.
Whoa.
There you have it. Excellent. Right, what have we got on the notes? Yeah, so mid-70s stuff, like we said, elevated them, really pushed them through, to their stardom, if you like, and they found their own sound. They still stuck with the rock stuff, but they made it their own. I think that's very obvious to hear with songs like Bohemian Rhapsody, You're My Best Friend, you know, all those ones that are a rock, but with the Queen sound in it.
Yeah, and at a certain point, they, because obviously they were unique, but they were somehow a typical 70s band in the sense you can really, Queen, during the 70s, you can totally relate their looks and their sound to the 70s.
Yes, you could put them in a playlist with loads of other 70s bands. Yes, that wouldn't stand out.
Exactly, but they've survived the 70s. They went way beyond that, and they became a typical band from the 80s as well. So, how do you feel about that change? You know, they become because. Well, personally, in the 80s, they're not. Can they still be considered a rock band? That's
well. I don't like their 80s albums because I don't like the music on it. Interesting. I mean, when I was doing the research, I thought it was important to get loads of quotes because for a band like Queen, who have changed so much depending on what... We'll come on to this later, but actually, we may as well cover this now. Queen did what they had to do to survive in this industry. It is a cutthroat music industry. Myself and Felipe, I mean, you've been a musician for 20 years.
Yeah.
I've been a professional musician for 7 or 8 years now. We've already experienced how hard it is to be able to navigate your way and survive.
Yeah.
When there are so many drummers and bassists competing for the same gigs.
And this is one level. When you're a musician, you play with people, etc.
And we'd like to make it clear we're on a very much lower level than Queen.
Yeah.
So imagine how hard it is for an elite band like that.
That's exactly what I wanted to say. I mean, you can survive in music by just, playing gigs and playing with people. But when you are in charge of writing the songs and being the artist and being on the spotlight like them, and if you reach a number one, or if you're on the top of the pops, then you can't do anything after that sounds slightly worse, and people wouldn't respect you anymore. So I think it's way harder to stay on top compared to get to the top.
Well, I'll read you some quotes that I found because these are really interesting, and I got about 3 quotes from each member of the band that I found really interesting that could pertain to this episode today. So Roger Taylor, we thought of ourselves as a fairly hard rock band. So I think that's pretty significant for their 70s stuff. Yeah. That makes sense. Then afterwards he said this: it was based on hard rock, which is kind of based on the blues. Then obviously we went off on all sorts of tangents. Classical religions, opera, gospel, funk. We tried to do everything really. And that shows.
Yeah, it does.
I know we're on to the 80s and their major change, but we talked about it there. Well, they tried everything.
It could have been a disaster, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how do you mix all of that without becoming a car crash?
Here's a quote for that. There are a lot of things in Queen albums that you don't expect. That's why we threw them in. Brian May. But again, how do you be innovative? How do you be different without doing stuff that no one's tried before?
Yeah.
Queen are a rock and roll band, man, through and through. I won't hear any other answer, despite the fact that they were purely 80s pop in the 80s.
In the 80s, yeah.
But they were a rock and roll band.
But it still had the rock attitude, isn't it?
Yeah.
Actually, I'll take the opportunity now to call one of our segments, if you guys are still not familiar with this show, we have Lars Unleashed, which is a segment where Lars is going to give some of his controversial opinions about today's topic or about any topic.
Let me find it.
So, I think my job here is to be chaotic because Lars is organized.
No, I'm the chaos one because I've got to be controversial.
Well, just in terms of opinion, but you're organized. You have your notes, you follow a structure. I'm just here throwing things. So, let's go for Lars Unleashed.
Okay, so today's episode, I keep saying episode, today's segment of Laz Unleashed is this. And it actually does pertain to a particular album, but I think it relates to Queen overall. The Prophet's song, which is a song,
never heard,
is better than Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, that's a powerful statement.
It is, and I'll explain my reasons why. The Prophet song and Bohemian Rhapsody are both on the same album. They're actually both on the same side of vinyl. They're both the side B of The Night at the Opera.
Does anyone but you know that song? I mean,
it's on their most famous album, so I assume they must know it. The Prophet song is very similar to Bohemian Rhapsody. It has a quiet intro, builds up and has a verse, gets a bit heavier, has an operatic section that really mixes the panning of the speakers and really pushes the production value. Then they both kick into the famous riffs, the Bohemian Rhapsody. Prophet's song has its own heavy riff. The difference for me is that Bohemian Rhapsody, after that riff, it calms down and it goes back to the intro, which is lovely. But then it kind of ends a bit abruptly. The Prophet's song gets to the pinnacle of the movement and then gradually eases you down. It's got another chilled verse and then it plays the little guitar intro that it does at the start. So for me, the Prophet song starts here, takes you all the way up to the top and gradually brings you back down to where you started. For me, completing a perfect musical journey. Bohemian Rhapsody starts at the same place, ends up at the top in the same level, but it has a quick drop off. I'd love Bohemian Rhapsody to be a little bit more extended. After that heavy section, throw in another verse maybe, and then end it with just that piano thing. Dun, dun, dun,
so you're just rewriting Bohemian Rhapsody here. Are you? Really...
I'm not rewriting. I'm saying that for me, I think the Prophet song...
I'm going to interrupt you to do my disclaimer. The opinions expressed in Last Unleashed segment, they do not reflect Felipe's opinions. Okay.
Terms and conditions apply. Yeah. No, listen, in all seriousness, Bohemian Rhapsody is a masterpiece. It is an incredible work of art. And as we know, it is the most famous Queen song. It's one of the most famous songs ever, let alone of Queen, let alone of the 70s, let alone of rock, ever. I wonder if the Prophet song, if they had... The other difference is the Prophet song is 8.5 minutes and Bohemian Rhapsody only 5 minutes. So Bohemian was more radio accessible. I just wonder, the Prophet song for me did everything Bohemian Rhapsody did in terms of innovation, new techniques, crazy music, hard rock riffs.
I see, it's got the same elements, but you think it's more. Okay, same elements, but a better song in your opinion. Yeah.
Only because it had a little more. The journey feels more complete for Prophet song for me. Bohemian Rhapsody, I wanted a little more and I didn't get it. Despite that, Bohemian Rhapsody is a 10 out of 10 song. I won't take that away. I just think personally the Prophet song is a better piece of music.
I'll listen to that. I should be ashamed to say that I don't know the song, so I'm going to listen to it
when we do the album.
All right.
Yeah, we'll come back.
I'll have to do my research.
We'll reference this.
The proper. Well, do you know what? I want to take us into another segment right away.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're talking about songs specifically. So let's talk about the top 5. Laz and Felipe's top 5. We're going to go for Queen top 5 songs.
Yeah, our favourite top 5 Queen songs.
And I don't know which ones are in your top 5, so you don't know mine. So
let's start from 5.
Yeah, 5.
Right, so do you want to give me your 5th favourite Queen song?
Yeah, I will. I Want to Break Free. Tell you why. I mean, when I first heard that song, it was like, do you know when they stop? That's when there's that break. Boom. I want to break free. How can you not sing along to that? It's the perfect...
You can't, you have to sing.
Again, we're talking about being, rock or pop. It's a perfect pop song to me.
Yeah.
It's a weird solo. It's like, but it's Queen.
Yeah.
You can tell, and the video is funny, and it's like they just taking the piss, are they? Like,
everything about that song was kind of special and different, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's so. Freddie said in an interview, it's about any person trying to, be free from a relationship, free from any sort of oppression, and it's so cool that again.
It applies for everyone.
Yeah,
people can listen to it how they want, can't they?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Well, my number 5 is a song called "Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy," which is a great little. Again, it's one of Freddie Mercury's. It's almost like a musical piece, like something you'd hear in a musical theatre. It's short. I think it's 2.5 minutes long, but it's got everything. It's got Mercury's quirkiness. There's a great Brian May guitar solo in it. The backing vocals are fantastic because you've got Freddie Mercury at the same time. Freddie Mercury sings, "Dining at the Ritz, we'll meet at 9." But as he says 9, the rest of the band go, "Dining at the Ritz, we'll meet at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8." And together they say 9 o'clock. And it's just so well. Their backing vocals and how they did it is amazing. So that's my 5th favourite one, "Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy." I love it. And my brother loves it as well. My brother, Theo, he's not a crazy rock guy, but there's songs by rock bands that stand out, and he loves this one. So I thought, if someone who doesn't like rock, because he mainly listens to rap and hip-hop, if someone who doesn't like rock loves a Queen song, it's got to be special.
See, there you
What's
go.
your number 4, sir?
My number 4, quite a heavy one for me, "Hammer to Fall."
John Deacon, did he write that?
Don't know who wrote that one. I have no idea. Might have been Brian May, because it's his kind of
I think Deacon
riff.
did "Friends Will Be Friends." Yeah.
Yeah.
Hammer to Fall's a great tune.
It's heavy. It's hard rock. Could have been a Led Zeppelin song. It's that sort of stuff. Again, that relates to their like 70s style. And it could have been played by any band from the 70s in a sense. On the other hand, has the unique voice of Freddie, and
that
just
pushes any song of Queen to another level, doesn't it?
It's just strong, Love it. Your number 4?
My number 4, right. I've taken some liberties with this one because it's 3 songs that run into each other, and it's from Queen's 3rd album. And
but they can be considered one song because they
think they wrote it as one song.
I think
the studio cut it into 3.
You cheating, but I will take
Can I not have it then?
No, you can. No, okay. You can have it.
It's
your show, man. Can do whatever.
It's our show.
Yes, we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, well, we can do whatever we want. Yeah, fine.
You can do 15 songs in your top 5. Why not?
Right. So, Tenement Funster / Flick of the Wrist / Lily of the Valley. It's almost like a piece of classical music because Tenement Funster is this slow rock tune that Roger Taylor's singing on, and it's almost like a prelude to "I'm in Love with My Car." Even though it's different albums, you can hear Roger Taylor. I'd imagine putting these 2 pieces of music next to each other and then flowing seamlessly in. It's not acoustic because there is some heaviness in it, and the guitar does come in as well as the drums, but it's an apprehensive tune. It's leaving you on the edge of your seat. You're wondering where this is going to go, and then you go into "Flick of the Wrist," which is just this fantastic, dark, almost metal. He plays a lot of harmonic minor scales in the guitar, and it's dark and dissonant. And then it just out of nowhere goes into "Lily of the Valley," which is this gorgeous piano-based tune that Freddie sings. It's just Freddie and the piano. I mean, there is other parts, but just like "Love of My Life."
So again, very
Stunning.
experimental.
Stunning, yeah, really great. And it's a lovely... Altogether, it's about 7.5 minutes, I think. But like I said, they cut it into 3 tunes. I love it, yeah. Into the top 3. What's your 3rd favourite Queen song?
My 3rd one would be "Crazy Little Thing Called Love."
Yeah.
Cheesy. I mean, that's like an Elvis Presley song.
It's a rockabilly tune.
Yeah, they wanted to be like that. They wanted to be like, rockabilly, 50s kind of rock. And it's a shuffle feel. And it's... if you want to play a wedding gig, you have to have that song. Everyone loves it. It's cheesy. It's pop. It's rockabilly, and again, they were clearly just having fun.
Yeah.
So, "Crazy Little Thing Called Love." What a way to describe love. What a way to to write a love song.
Lyrics are lovely as well, aren't they?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, your number.
Well, my number 3, yeah. I've gone for Love of My Life, which is on the Night of the Opera album.
From Love to Love.
Yeah. This, it's almost like words can't do it justice. It is one of the most emotional, heartfelt songs I've ever listened to. Mercury sings it with just so much emotion in it, and again, what makes this a great song is it wouldn't be as good if there wasn't the rest of the band adding their layer of backing vocals to it, if there wasn't that little section where Brian May adds his guitar. It's just stunning, and I get very emotional listening to it, because there's a section in the Bohemian Rhapsody movie where, I don't know if this is true or not, but Freddie Mercury wrote this for his
girlfriend.
Was it girlfriend, or had he come out as gay at that point?
Well, I think, the point
Oh no, he didn't. He came out in the 80s. This is 75.
But she was his girlfriend, I think, at the time.
Yeah. So he wrote this for Mary, who was his girlfriend, and I remember watching the movie, coming home and listening to Love of My Life, and I cried, because I loved Freddie Mercury as a person. I know he died way before I was born, but him and who he stand for and what he did for the band that I loved, seeing his life so well portrayed on Bohemian Rhapsody, and coming home and to listen to a song like Love of My Life just meant the world to me, and it really
and you see people
sad.
singing along. I think in the movie they mentioned they watching on the VH, they watching a recorded gig, and they actually mentioned a gig he played in Brazil with people singing along.
Yes.
And I
Didn't the crowd sing the whole song to him?
Yeah, I think my dad was there.
Really?
I wasn't born at that time, or I was, I don't know. But the thing is, they played it, and he in the movie, we don't know if that's accurate, but it could be. You know, the fact is, he says to his girlfriend in the movie, like, those people don't speak a word in English, but they know the lyrics.
Yeah.
So that song was so, and he couldn't sing because he started, and the audience started like so much louder, of course, and they sang the whole song, and that would be like that in any country they would go to, and
it just makes it more special that it's a country that doesn't speak English. Doesn't it?
Exactly, it does. Yeah.
Anyway, what's your second favorite Queen song?
Ooh, my second favorite Queen song. You're gonna be surprised by this one. I think most people wouldn't have this song in their top 5. I just love it. It's not classic Queen in that sense. It's not one of the most remarkable songs, I would say, but I just love it. Who Wants to Live Forever?
Because it's another Mercury moment, isn't it?
It is. And Brian May wrote the song, and it's keyboards based, isn't it? It's like, it's very 80s in that sense, too much keyboards, and it was a soundtrack for Highlander. It's a great movie.
Can I tell you what I think of it? It feels like Brian May is a composer writing for his star.
Yeah.
Freddie Mercury, it's like he wrote the song knowing Freddie would perform this and nail it.
He knew only Freddie could sing that.
Yes.
And if you relate to the movie, like Who Wants to Live Forever, what a perfect definition. You don't want to be immortal.
Yeah.
That's it. They convince you that it's not a good thing, you know. Great song, and fantastic. Yeah.
Well, my second favourite Queen song is Play the Game. Do you know?
Oh, yeah.
I love it. I'll tell you why this is important for me is because Play the Game came out in 1980. 1980, we'll go on to this quickly after, was the transitional year for Queen. They released Play the Game, and after that it became very funky, disco-y and electronic. But Play the Game for me is that catalyst. It is a rock tune with a shitload of synths and electronic stuff over it, and it works so well. There are all those lasers and the the sci-fi sounds, but at the heart, at its core, it is a gorgeous rock song. The guitar solo is stunning. Freddie Mercury's intro on the piano is beautiful. I think I loved it from the moment I heard it, and it's
one of those. It's a feel-good song, isn't it? You listen to
it. Yeah. Excellent. Right, our favourite Queen songs. What's your favourite?
Ooh, my number one.
Is there a chance it's the same?
There is a chance.
Okay,
no, there's no chance it's going to be the same.
What's your favourite
I doubt
Queen
this
song?
would be your number one. Couple of reasons why it was my number one. Okay, surprise. This is a song that I used to play with a band back in the day. I've played in a rock covers band. They had an interesting philosophy, which would be we don't play hit songs, or not. We can play a hit, but it can't be the biggest hit of that band.
Yeah.
And we chose that one. If you want to play one Queen song, you would go for Bohemian Rhapsody or Crazy Little Thing Called Love, whatever. We chose that song, and I enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed playing it, and it's just so cool, nonsense, and it's definitely one of those they wrote for fun. I love the lyrics. Tie your mother down.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's a hit, isn't it? But it's not like I don't think
so
it would
good.
be anyone's number one. It's my number one. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
My number one is, and I think this is an obvious one, but this was the first Queen song I ever remember listening to. We would drive it. Me and my dad, we had my whole family. We had the Greatest Hits one on tape in our old car, and we used to play it on our journeys when we would go on holiday and stuff like that. And my dad used to do actions, and whilst if my mum was driving, my dad would do actions, and we'd sort of mime to the song. And I think, for what it is just one of the most feel-good songs of all time. My favourite Queen song is "Don't Stop Me Now." I think it is a pop song with rock band playing it.
I've struggled to not put that one in my top
isn't it
five.
just
So
fantastic?
you would have been on coincidence. But
Isn't it just fantastic?
It
Like,
is.
It's
Love
a
it.
proper rock band playing a pop song. But there's nothing, apart from the lyrical content, there's nothing poppy about it. The guitar solo is a rock solo. The drum bit in the middle, don't stop me, don't stop me. That's rock, man.
But I like they were really good at up-tempo songs.
Yeah.
It's not too easy to write an up-tempo song like that. And it's so fast-paced. And it's yeah, and the title says it all. Don't stop me
now.
You don't want the song to stop.
Yeah.
You don't want the song to end. It's just so cool.
Amazing. Anyway, that was mine and Felipe's top 5 Queen songs. So let's talk about the end of Queen, because obviously it's a very tragic end. They kind of renewed their popularity in the 80s because they went into this very kind of electro funk disco section where for a good 5 or 6 years they were producing stuff that it doesn't really resemble Queen of the 70s at all, does it?
Yeah.
It's very, very different stuff, and you wouldn't say it was Queen. I remember my brother Tarek was playing a tune on his on the speaker, and I said to him, "Who is this?" And he said, "It's one of your favourite bands." I said, "No way, I do not know who this is." And it's Queen.
Yeah.
And the song was Cool Cat from the Hot Space? The Hot Space album. The Hot Space album in 1982. And it sounded more like Prince. It really did. So, and it was a cool tune, but I just didn't associate it with Queen.
I think they kind of evolved with times. If you don't consider an evolution, if you consider that they were better.
Excuse me.
They were better in the early days. Doesn't matter. They kind of reflected the times they were living.
Exactly. What is better? Because they were doing what they had to do to sell out their gigs.
Yeah.
And the 80s, as we know, went very electronic. It went very poppy. It went very synthy. Queen did what they had to do to survive. And I think there's a line of that in the movie, in the Bohemian Rhapsody movie. Or maybe it was an interview with Brian May. But I think they've said openly, we know that we didn't stay a rock band forever. You know, we did what we had to do to survive in this industry.
But I think they never claimed to...
Exactly.
That they had to stick to a pattern or a style.
But they went back in 1986. They had 84. They had their album, which was The Works, and that was very much they came back to the rockiness of it. And there's a lot more guitar solos. The drums were much more prominent, not so electric and synthesized and everything, and that really kind of brought them back.
But their live performances were all like rock performances.
Yeah, that's true. Regardless of what music they were releasing, they were a rock band on stage.
Yeah,
and after that 84 album, they actually did something that a lot of bands, I wouldn't say failed to do, but didn't take advantage of. They toured around the world, and they started reaching their markets. They went to South America, they went to Asia, they went to Africa to perform and tour.
Not many UK bands would have gone
exactly.
far or to as many countries as they went to.
Absolutely. And what it did for them is it renewed their popularity, especially in the mid-80s. And that kind of all culminated to the point which was Live Aid, which was just so special, wasn't it? Because... what do you know about Live Aid? Was it 1985?
I think it's 85. Yeah.
Just such a special.
The short set, only the hits, that kind of stuff.
Millions of people saw, and that really brought Queen back into the. Not that they ever left, but I think because their music wasn't hitting the same heights that the other stuff was, I think people lost a bit of interest.
Yeah, but it made them
Aid.
relevant again because they proved that no one would be better than them on stage.
Exactly.
Really cool.
Well, after Live Aid, there was a few more albums, but ultimately most touring ceased after that because Mercury's health became really bad. We didn't go public with it straight away. Actually, he left it very late to go public with it. And actually, the day before he died, that he made the announcement.
Yeah, although people like to talk about Mercury's private life and stuff like that, I think he wasn't that kind of guy who would be talking about his stuff, his health and his
No,
relationships.
no.
Like, I'm a musician, I'm doing music, so
Yeah.
let's talk about my music, isn't it?
So yeah, I mean that's the tragic part. I mean they released Innuendo in 1991, which was the final album with Freddie Mercury sort of singing live on it. And then he died. When was it he died exactly? November 24th, 1991.
91.
He made an announcement the day before. And that kind of ended Queen really, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, as I said to you,
we know,
I
Queen.
like to think that every other incarnation of Queen is Queen with a guest singer. You know, and if I take it like that, I'm happy to see them performing with another.
I know we said we wouldn't
singer.
discuss Laz Shorts, but again, I don't. Even Queen and Adam Lambert, for me, John Deacon is Queen. So if there's no John Deacon, it's not Queen and Adam Lambert. For me, it's Roger Taylor, Brian May, and Adam Lambert perform the music of Queen.
Yeah.
But I don't listen. I don't have a problem with them doing it. And actually, in fact, as you guys might have seen on our Instagram post that I mentioned earlier about our introducing John Deacon is still involved. Any financial decision or matter that Queen being Brian May and Roger Taylor, make has to go through him because he handled the band's finances all through their career, and he still has an involvement now. And when he retired, he retired in 1997 because he just couldn't deal with being in the music industry anymore. Him and Freddie Mercury were best mates. Freddie really helped John Deacon deal with the pressure of being in the public eye and being in a band as big as Queen. He just didn't want it anymore.
He couldn't without Freddie.
So he said to Brian May and Roger Taylor, guys, you do whatever you want with the brand. Keep me involved because my name's still on it and I'll help you with the financial matters. But you do what you want. I'm not a part of this anymore. And thus, for me, ended Queen. But what a band, eh? What a band.
What a legacy, you know.
But through so many different levels, you've got legacy because of the bass lines that John Deacon wrote. You've got the legacy because Freddie Mercury was the greatest frontman of all time. Yeah. You've got the legacy because Brian May was a fantastic guitarist whose techniques and innovations of the guitar and producing took guitar to a new level.
How can you be in a band like the other three guys were, be in a band with Freddie Mercury and you still have your own moment to shine, isn't it? Yeah. They were all big on stage. All of them were more than just being relevant for the music. They were clearly a four-piece band. All of them were rock stars. All of them.
And what also is so special is how long they went on for. Yeah. I'll give you this quote from John Deacon. Lots of marriages don't last as long as Queen have been together. Which is true. Think Led Zeppelin, 10 years?
Yeah.
Beatles, same thing. 9 years the Beatles were. Yeah. Even the band split after 11 years themselves.
It's hard to stay
for almost 30 years.
We talked about this. It's really hard to get to the top of the music industry, and it's really hard to stay.
Yeah,
it's
and
really
be relevant.
Do you know, it's really hard to stay in the music industry, period. Harder if you want to talk for sure. But it is, what a legacy, you know, everything they've done, and having that long career. I want to say thanks to them, you know.
Yeah, but they've done so much. Anyway, right, we're going to end the episode with our final segment, which is called Feed the Drummer. So what we have for Feed the Drummer today, for those who are watching on the YouTube, this is we have pork scratchings. Do you know what they are? No, it's the skin.
Yeah, I know.
There you go. Well, enjoy. Don't have it too close to the mic because it's very crunchy.
I don't know what you mean with this.
Okay, well,
what's the relation between this?
Well, I'm not going to make you guess because it's as we said last time. I'm not going to do puns on song names or musicians because I think Jeff Porcaro irritated you a bit, didn't it?
That was terrible.
So what I'll do is you can eat, and I will say that I'm going to introduce you to a Queen album based on what you're eating.
Which one?
Well, have a guess first. What are you eating? You're eating pork scratchings, which are pig fat. You're literally eating the fat of a pig.
Yeah.
So I'd like you to introduce you to the Queen album, Sheer Heart Attack. Good. If you eat too many of these, I promise a heart attack is coming.
Anyway, ever listened to the whole album?
Queen,
so thanks for that.
You have. Oh, you haven't? Good.
No.
The Queen album, their third one, 1973.
No one's going to hear.
There you go. There's the crunch. I got the year wrong though. 1974, Sheer Heart Attack. There are some really great songs on it, and it is really. That's when I feel that the 70s Queen was at their best. Although A Night at the Opera is special, Sheer Heart Attack was the album that kind of prepared them for that. It's way better than Queen 1 and Queen 2, and that for me is the early Queen. A Night at the Opera signifies the Queen that we know, but the Queen pre-Queen, this doesn't make sense, does it? The Queen the Queen that we know is summed up perfectly with Sheer Heart Attack. So go and listen to the album when you like, and you'll have to record a little video for our listeners of what you thought of it after you listened to it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah,
excellent, cool. All right, well, guys, thank you very much for joining us on our second episode. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please leave us the reviews and the feedback and all that stuff. Follow us on social media. I am at Laz Unleashed on Instagram. He is at feed_the_drummer on Instagram. And the show is at Long Live RNR Pod on Instagram and Twitter. You can search Long Live Rock and Roll on Facebook and YouTube to find our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. We'll be posting little videos, little clips. You know, you can follow us when we're on tour. We'll do some vlogs and stuff. But we'll keep you up to date with all the information, including new episodes.
And let us know if you want us to talk about any specific bands, albums, or...
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys. If there's a specific album you'd love to hear us talk about, or a specific band, we'd love to do it. Even if we don't know them, because then it just teaches us as well. We'll do our research and we'll learn. And thank you for being part of our second episode.
Yeah, thanks everyone, and keep on rocking.
And as always, long live rock and roll. We'll see you next time.